those things which are not according to Islamic teachings. My whole point of view is always to introspect and see how we are parenting, our well-being, and how we can be the best version of ourselves. On that note, I'd like to just start the presentation for today, and just bear with me. So we had talked about the inner child last time, and as you know, the inner child has needs. Do you see me? Do you hear me? Do I matter? Do you love me? You know, all these things are very important for a child, but the very things are missing in us many times. Because we did not have conscious parents, what happened is we don't know how to deal with our difficult feelings. So how do we feel our feelings, especially the difficult feelings which are disturbing us? All right. So to sit with our feelings and to do our inner child work, we can't just do the inner child work like this. You can't just go to the deep end of your emotions until you learn the skills you need in order to swim down there, because it will actually flood you. Your psyche, depressed, repressed, suppressed, your emotions when we were younger, when it actually took too much for you and I to process. We can disassociate from those feelings. We can split off from those feelings. We can fragment away those memories. We were doing that because it was too much for our nervous system. Nothing just happens arbitrarily. It happens for an important reason, and that is to protect us. It doesn't mean that we are adults now, so I have the skills to access the most difficult emotions and feelings that I'm going through. That's not possible. So, when I talk about the inner child work that we should be doing, we have to understand that we have to build a muscle. In order to build a muscle, what do we need? Okay, what we need to do is we know that a muscle takes time to build. It's a skill, just like every other skill. You go nudge by nudge, day by day, skill by skill. It's not just like one day you wake up and say that now I will do my inner child work, jump into the deep end of emotions. No, 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 no. I can't do that. That is inappropriate. So it's a skill, ladies, okay? If you are to go swimming, you need to buy a bathing suit. Then you need a coach who can teach you how to swim. Then you learn to dip your toes in the water. Then you'll go knee deep water. Then slowly and carefully you will go inside the swimming pool and learn how to swim. Eventually you will reach the deep end and then the diving. So it's a skill. So you don't want to do this work, especially if you have had a traumatic childhood or complex PTSD, difficult things that may have happened to you in your childhood, and you already feel dysregulated. I'll give you an example of horse riding. Okay, that when you go the first day, you just learn to sit on a horse. Then you take the long rope and take around. Then you start doing slowly and carefully on your own. Then you learn to trot and then jump. So a skill takes time. It's the same thing if you go to a gym. You just can't go and right away do 100 pounds bench press right away, because you know that you've never been to the gym. So you start with 5 pounds, 10 pounds, then 15 pounds, and increase the weight gradually. Precisely the same way. You do not do these things alone. This is precisely what you don't do. Okay, don't do the difficult things if you don't have the ability to regulate those emotions before. Because if you have got around yourself and if you don't have the ability, you can learn that, right? So let's say if you are already stressed and you are already overwhelmed, if you start doing this work, you will just flood yourself. If you don't have the emotional regulation skills, emotional regulation is very important, one of the key components of emotional intelligence. How can I bring myself down to a state of homeostasis? Yeah, so there is a common phrase used by, this phrase is coined by Dr. Dan Siegel. Its name is window of tolerance. Okay, window of tolerance is termed by Dr. Dan Siegel and now commonly used to understand and describe normal brain and body reactions, especially following adversity. The concept suggests that we have an optimal arousal level when we are within the window of tolerance that allows for the ebb and flow of emotions experienced by human beings. We may experience hurt, anxiety, fear, anger, pain. That brings us close to the edges of the window of tolerance, but generally we are able to utilize strategies to keep us within this window. Similarly, we may feel too exhausted, sad, shut down, but we generally shift out of. All right, now we will see a diagram demonstrating ebb and flow of an optimally regulated nervous system, experiencing activation followed by settling. As you can see this diagram, this is a healthy nervous system. As you can see, arousal activation, and then it's settling down. How do I know how much I can tolerate? If you have had a difficult childhood, maybe where you were not taught skills of emotional regulation, like a lot of men were not socialized in this way of emotions and learning an emotional vocabulary or talking about emotions. They were just taught, just get on with it. They don't know how to access that. They don't have hormones like women, like oxytocin, that can actually soothe the system. Men have a smaller window of tolerance. Men get flooded very quickly, while we have children who don't have the cognitive abilities, who don't have the verbal abilities of yet to be able to contain or express emotions, might have a smaller window. So we have to be their surrogate window to help them calm and soothe their surrogate nervous system. So when we are overwhelmed, then our children will get overwhelmed as well. Our window develops through different life experiences. So, if you had a difficult childhood experience, then you will have a smaller window of tolerance. So, who might be having a bigger window of tolerance? So, if you had somewhat healthy childhood where you had, for the most part, learned that they have some work with the therapist, you sat down with the therapist, you did some work, you have done some tolerance work that will help you start grow the window of tolerance. So, if a stressor comes, it is within the window of tolerance, then you can cope with it. You can learn and grow and do exercises to integrate, be creative, and be in a state of homeostasis. I feel okay. Even if a huge stressor comes, I'm okay because I'm growing my window of tolerance. There will be times when we are overstressed. Our window will shrink a little bit, so the smallest little thing can throw us out of the window, okay, or throw us below the window. What do I mean by that? I'll come to that later. So you have to know what you can tolerate. Is this something I'm able to do? Of course, you should sit with your emotions, learn from your emotions, go to your emotions, but ask yourself, can I really do that? Do I have the language to do that? Do I have the skills to do that? How can I learn to do that? Do I have the tools to do that? You have to know your own window. If you are going through a difficult time, probably not a good idea to go through that. It's not a good idea to open the Pandora's box of childhood memories as of yet. So, calm arousal is an ideal state, and the most times during the day we fluctuate within various levels of calm arousal. However, when we become overstimulated by fear, pain, anger, trauma, triggers to the degree that it pushes us out of our window of tolerance, this is called hyperarousal. So, what is hyperarousal? Hyperarousal is characterized by excessive activation energy, often in the form of anxiety, panic, fear, hypervigilance, emotional flooding. This keeps our system stuck on and it impacts our ability to relax, often making it difficult to sleep, eat, and digest food, and optimally manage our emotions. At the most intensified level, this may result into a dissociative rage or hostility. So if I have a good window of tolerance, but what happens when we are pushed out of the window of tolerance? you can go through hyperarousal. And this is the side of fight, flight, panic, and hyperarousal, where our system is overwhelmed and overworked, just switched on and hypervigilant. It's a big stressor. You don't have resources to cope with it. So, too much fight and flight can actually change your brain chemistry and send you into hypoarousal. So, just in the checked box, I would like to know how many people feel they are in hyperarousal, where they are in this state of, hypervigilance, emotional flooding, panic, fear, anxiety. If I can have that, I would know. So if you are, let me finish this slide. I'll just define what is hypoarousal. So hypoarousal occurs when we have too much hyperarousal, suppressing pain, emotional overwhelm. Our body and mind are not able to tolerate, causing us to plunge into a state of hypoarousal, shutting down or disassociating. In this state, our system can become stuck off, uh, characterized by exhaustion, depression, flat affect, numbness, disconnection, disassociation. These two impacts our sleep in that way, in that we may not that sorry we may want to sleep all the time. This impacts our appetite, digestion as well, and may make us feel emotionally deadened. So when we go through a lot of fight, flight, fight, flight, fight, flight, suddenly the body moves into freeze. When it moves into freeze, you start to feel numb, disassociated from the difficult emotions. You can actually feel quite apathetic, quite depressed, and you can have a flat affect. And that's how you enter a state of hypoarousal. So if I can have in the chat box, please, ladies writing for me, if you are hyperarousal, you write number 1, if you think you are in hyperarousal. And if you think you are in hypoarousal, then please write 2. I'll just check, see the chat box. What we have? We have 2. Okay. Wow. We have 2s. I can't. Okay. We have 1, 1, and we have almost the equal 1s and 2s. I did not expect 2s because, see, 2s, hypoarousal cannot happen very quickly usually. But if you are going through that, then you have to understand that you are stuck in this state, and now you have to do certain things to come out from hypoarousal to come back to homeostasis. Whether you're in hypo or hyper, you can come out of that state. All right, so I'm still waiting for ladies to type because I was surprised to see 2s, because usually you can only be in hypoarousal if you had a very traumatic experience, like it could be physical abuse, emotional abuse, which is possible because our childhood, when we were in our childhood, I remember I was the first child, I was physically abused. Yeah, we have been slept before, or maybe put in a store in a dark room. Uh, so if we are still going through fight or flight, because we lived in a very stressed life right now, and too much fight or flight can send us to freeze. So you feel disassociated. It can happen even when you have thyroid as well. So I'm surprised to see too. So wow, there is a lot of work that everyone has to do to come out from this state. Yeah. So usually hypoarousal is not very normal because you have to go through huge stressors which have now pushed you on the other side of the window. As I explained before, you could see that what was hyperarousal and hypoarousal. So either way, you can be flooded in a state of either hypo or hyperarousal, depending, right? If you are in hypoarousal, then you start dissociating depending on how narrow your window is. Because too often we are already at the edge of the window. So we are in hypoarousal most of the time because we are stressed. We are already too close to the window to the state of hyperarousal, just day to day life or our inability to manage because we are all living in a state of chronic stress. So immediately we move into hypoarousal, and then we start feeling disassociation, and we can cut off from our feelings. Nothing is going on. So if we are already hypoarousal, we will shift into from hyperarousal to hypoarousal. I believe many of us are in hyperarousal, so it doesn't take much to move into hypoarousal. So, what are we doing wrong? So, as we can see here, ladies, that we are not doing our day to day distressing, right? Regulation, poor sleep, diet is poor. We are not looking after our physical health, our mental health. We are not looking after ourselves. Hence, what is happening is we reach those states, like whether it is hyper or hypo. So very important to understand, okay? So I have sample activities here that can decrease the arousal. That includes diaphragmatic breathing, deep and slow tummy breathing. You can do other things like drink from a straw, throw a therapy ball, yoga ball at the blank wall or outside wall, jumping on the trampoline. I have a trampoline at home and I love to jump on it with my son. So yes, definitely trampoline helps in both hypo and hyperarousal as well. So shaking or stomping excess energy, all right. And therapy ball, yoga ball, very good to roll along the back, all right, or lying down, facing down on the mat, gently and firmly press your stomach on it. It's good exercise. Heavy work like lifting, pulling, pushing, like pull-ups, push-ups, wheelbarrow races, crab walk. If you're going to the gym, then I'm sure you're doing the crab walks and the leapfrogs. Very good, right? We could listen to Quran. We can have comfort food. So yes, hot chocolate. You can have your hot chocolate to bring that hyperarousal down. Weighted blankets, this is very fascinating. I will talk about it more. Warm water, very highly recommended as well. Shaking off your excessive energy so the hyperarousal can come down. See, when you do these things, you will be able to come to homeostasis easily. So when you feel that stress, just get up and get moving, do the exercise, do some jumping on the trampoline, and inshallah, you'll feel better. So, I wanted to explain some of the benefits of weighted blankets. They work beautifully by pressing down on our body, and it's known as earthing or grounding. This process can be hugely helpful because studies show that grounding may help reduce nighttime levels of cortisol. So, if you're in hyperarousal, falling asleep is already a problem because you have a lot of cortisol in your system. Cortisol is a stress hormone produced when your body is under stress. It's a part of fight or flight response. But you don't have to be in a life or death situation for your body to produce cortisol. You can produce it if you're simply anxious or upset, right? Just one thought. A human being can go into fight or flight just by bringing a depressive thought, something bad that happened to you in your childhood, or something sad. You can do that, right? You can just trigger it by having a thought. Imagine, subhanallah, how Allah has made us. So that means if you're caught in an insomnia anxiety spiral, just thinking about going to bed may cause your cortisol level to spike up. But by providing deep pressure touch, using the weighted blankets can promote relaxation and help you break this cycle. Yeah, it helps you calm down your body. The weighted blanket can reduce anxiety, dealing with insomnia. Weighted blankets are good for sleeping disorders. It's good for OCD, post traumatic stress disorder, bipolar disorder, many other things, PTSD as well. Many of these disorders are related to or can lower the lowering of serotonin levels in your body, and deep touch provided by weighted blankets can help you calm down easily and give you a good night's sleep so you feel better. It also helps in de stressing, calming down. It helps people with autism as well. So, weighted blankets are highly recommended so you feel better, you get a good night's sleep. Once you have a good night's sleep in, then you have exercise and food, you are going to be well balanced. So to increase arousal. Now, so we had those ladies who were writing number twos. So they've been in so much fight or flight, fight or flight. So they have been thrown underneath the window. As you can see this diagram, we have hypoarousal here, Hyperarousal here, where we have anxious, angry, out of control, overwhelmed. The body is fight and flight and in runaway situation. It is nothing. It is nothing something you can choose. These reactions just take over. So it's not something you can control. You have to remember that. Okay. So you went through so much fight or flight, and then you went into freeze. So with those people who are in hypoarousal, right, zoned out, numb, frozen, body wants to shut down, it's not something you choose. These reactions just take over. So how can we um, decrease the arousal as well? Yeah, increase the arousal, sorry. So increasing for those who are in hypoarousal would be essential oils, aromatherapy. I love aromatherapy, so you can have lavender, smelling all those lovely oils can really help you, right? um, you can have sensory shaker, movement, again trampoline is mentioned over here just like over there. And exercises like sitting on the bouncing ball of the therapy ball, sitting down on it, using a rocking chair, weighted blanket can help you as well. All right, finger painting, water play with a straw, blowing. So I'm not talking about bubbles, but yeah, I don't know how you would do this, blowing bubbles to increase the arousal. Yeah, but these are fun things to do. What do you say, ladies? Do you agree? Aren't these fun things to do? Who likes jumping on the trampoline? Let us see. Write me a thumbs up if you like jumping on the trampoline like me. I don't know if you have a trampoline in your homes, but I do. Oh,
It's nice.
yes.
It's nice sometimes to get to your child's level, right? Behave like little children, right? Which we sometimes get too old for it, too old to enjoy.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Very good. So yes, Alhamdulillah. Yes, many people liking the trampoline. Very important. And don't forget your hot chocolate to relax you as well at night, so you can get good night's sleep. So reading the Quran, I've kept that as part of it because definitely, Quran calms you down. Whether you are hypo or hyper, it doesn't actually matter. What matters is when you listen to the Holy Quran, it will bring you back to homeostasis. Definitely, yeah. Quran is shifa for everyone, and once we listen to the Holy Quran, inshallah, we can come back to our homeostasis. So, how can we increase our window? So there are multiple things we can do. Yeah, de-stressing, decompression, regulation, body work is a great way to calm down that nervous system. Yeah. So when you experience that difficult emotion, you are ready to regulate yourself quickly. So we have to have these skills in order to be able to handle our window of tolerance. When a big stressor comes, you know what to do. What you're going to do is, this is something you are going to do before you access those difficult childhood emotions. So you can find your center and find your calm now. So when something happens to you and you have been triggered, no, you don't want to do the inner child work, accessing those difficult memories because you are not grounded in the present day. So if you're in hyper or hypo, remember you are not in homeostasis, you are not okay. You need to do your regulation work. You need to de-stress, decompose. Regulation is important. Find your center and calm now to build your window of tolerance. One of the best things you could do, and the easiest thing, I guess, is grounding. And I wouldn't tell you to go to the beach because I know you can't do that every day, but grounding, you just need to do walks in the nature. Okay. So, what are some things that can help you and myself as well to find our calm center? How can we build the window of tolerance? So there are multiple things you can do. All right. There is Qigong, that's excellent for everyone. But if you can't do that, then you can do yoga, which is easily accessible, I'm sure. You can do body work, you can do breath work. Breath work is the fastest way you can turn from hyperarousal and find your calm again to tell the body everything is okay. Our body posture sends us a signal. If we move into a bended posture like this, then we are sending a signal out to the brain. Oh, I'm afraid. So fix my body posture. Sit down and open your chest, open your hips, and say, I'm okay. Take a deep breath. Put your hands on the left side of the chest and say, I am okay. I am calm. When we put our hand on the left side of our chest and do this, we have lots of nerves here, right? So we are touching our hearts to calm ourselves down. Then we have aromatherapy that works amazing. Grounding exercises, going out for a walk in the beach, on the beach, or going out for a nature walk, excuse me, hiking, going to the park, right? And if you can actually do this, is remove your shoes and walk on the ground, because then only grounding will happen. You don't get grounding effects if you are wearing shoes. So if you are in a park, try to remove your shoes and touch the ground. Your legs should be touching the grass. Or if you are on the beach, you walk on the sand, and then you talk to the earth and say, Oh, earth, give me what I need, because we are out of balance. We are not in a correct state. So we can get that from earth when we start balancing ourselves with grounding activities. So you have to figure out what will bring you back to your calm and find your homeostasis again. Once you do that, you will get better at it. It's a skill you will learn to build. It takes time, but you'll get better at it. So make sure you do these things so you can feel better. So, what happens is usually we are never stuck into one state, right? God forbid, we should never be stuck in one state because it's not possible. As you can see, what has happened is somebody is stuck in hyperarousal, somebody is stuck in hypoarousal. Both states are not healthy. As human beings, we only have the capacity to stay in one state for so long before the brain and the body shifts us. For example, if we can only tolerate so much pain, anxiety, fear, etc., before the brain and the body respond and numb us to this excessive energy. Similarly, people will only stay in shutdown state, feeling emotionally deadened inside before the brain and the body shift us out of this state. So, what will happen is you will be pulled towards the things. If you are in hypoarousal, all those people who wrote too, remember you can't stay in this state always. You will be pulled to do things differently. Okay? So, what will happen is you will gravitate often subconsciously, subconsciously, things that will make you feel alive. That could mean that we can gravitate toward high risk behaviors or activities uncharacterized for us, bring about the sense of excitement and activation and vitality. Essentially, we are self preserving, as there is some part of the brain and body that is not ready to be dead yet. So we have to understand that we cannot stay in one state stuck. All right? We will move out of this. The body will try to do that, but we have to help it. So breath work, it is beautiful to do breath work. Yeah. All those who are hypoarousal or hyperarousal, especially for hyperarousal, right? Breath work is amazing exercise and techniques that can improve our mental, physical, spiritual well-being. During breath work, you intentionally change your breathing pattern, right? So what happens is it has multiple benefits. As you can see, it can take you out of depression, anger issues, anxiety, grief, chronic pain, emotional effects of illness, trauma, post traumatic stress disorder. Breathwork is used to help improve a wide range of issues. All right. So, what does breathwork look like? Right? I'm sure all of you know the breathing, pranayam, right? Alternate nose breathing, right? We can do these exercises to bring ourselves back to homeostasis. So there's box breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, pursed lip breathing, 4-7-8 breathing, alternate nostril breathing. All right, so we can do these things. What is box breathing? So if you remember the number 4, this is the very easy breathing. What you need to do is just sit upright, slowly exhale through your mouth, getting all the oxygen out of your lungs. Focus on the intention and be conscious of what you are doing. So then inhale slowly for count of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Completely full. Your lungs should be full and your abdomen should be out. And then hold your breath for 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your mouth for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Being conscious of the feeling of the air leaving your lungs and while entering and leaving your lungs. So this is a very good exercise. You can do it 5 to 7 times to help you self-regulate. Then there is diaphragmatic breathing. This diaphragmatic breathing is intended to help you use the diaphragm correctly while breathing to strengthen your diaphragm, right? Lie down on a flat surface in the bed. Then you can bend your knees, put a pillow supporting your head, a pillow supporting your legs as well, and then place one hand on your chest and the other hand on your rib. This will allow you to feel your diaphragm move as you breathe. Yeah, so breathe slowly through your nose and make sure when you are breathing, you breathe through your stomach, right? So your stomach comes out when you inhale. And then when you exhale, you are going to tighten your stomach and letting them fall inward as you exhale through your pursed lips. The hand on your upper chest must remain as still as possible. So don't use your chest. That's the wrong way of breathing. We are using our stomach, right? So when we inhale, stomach out, exhale, stomach in. So you are going to tighten the muscles and exhale. You can do this 7 times, 10 times before you go to bed. This will help you fall asleep. It will relax you. It will bring you back to the present moment. So, how can we make our window of tolerance bigger? Okay, so there is definitely body work. This will help you to bring you to the present and center you, help you in the now. It can help you with your memories and trauma, your stories that you play in your head. Breath work really helps with anxiety disorder. If you are anxious, you have anxiety, it will help you with that. With hyperarousal, it works wonders, as well as hypoarousal. Breath work works wonders for both. You can sit with a therapist and be a part of a support group to help you regulate yourself. So, if you're sitting with a therapist with the help, you can regulate your nervous system by being attuned to you, and the therapist listening to you. There is something happening there called co-regulation between the therapist and the client. That is extremely powerful because this way you build your window. Okay, as you start talking about your difficult past, what happens is you start seeing that with the therapist you are okay to touch those hurtful feelings. What happens is your window starts growing and you get a vocabulary for your nuanced emotions. The more you anchor yourself and the more you ground yourself, your window grows. And it's a skill, ladies. So you get the skills before you get into those deep swimming emotions. If you do not do the preliminary work and go deep diving, then you will feel overwhelmed. You can be hyper or hypoarousal. So whenever we are doing a trauma work. So we have all been through traumas. See, hence it's so difficult for us to be homeostasis all the time. We are not always in our window of tolerance, right? So we have to understand something that whenever we are dealing, especially with our children, this is very important. Our children have gone through trauma as well. Maybe we shouted at them, maybe we punished them, we didn't know any better, but we have already created a problem for their children. So we have to remember, how can we help our children feel better to create amazing relationships? We have to remember they've been through trauma. Okay, so when we are providing the support for our children because they've gone through trauma, they feel loss of control, and there is an they don't feel the ability, that they don't feel safe in the environment at home. So what we need to do is, this is a beautiful diagram by Dan Hughes, and he says in this visual, he explains how warm touch, face, voice communicates with our amygdala. It promotes a sense of safety. I would suggest that this generalizes to all interactions, meaning how we communicate with our children with a warm touch, warm face, warm voice, When we are open and warm with our children, you understand that what you are doing is you are creating a safety environment for your child. The child feels safe and the amygdala is activated because you are being so warm, you are being so loving, you are giving them a safe space. And that's why the child feels accepted. So remember, our facial expressions are important. Our warm touch, warm voice is very important in order for our children to connect, especially if we have not done the work and they have been traumatized. So, in order to increase empowerment, what we need to do is we need to respond in a right brain rather than the left brain cognitive level. Adjust the tone and the volume and the cadence of the voice, proximity, body posturing, breathing to a level that will present as calm and helping to co-regulate the individual you are interacting with. So as the diagram suggests, we need to do these things, all right? When we are interacting with our children, validating their emotions and offering them to help them to regulate. So if they are angry, you can say, okay, how would it help if we go out for a walk? So you are giving options to the child. What will help right now? I validate your emotion of being angry, but how can I be of help? How can I make you feel better? The third thing is allow for choice and control. When activated state of threat is readily perceived and in fact assumed, this is why reactions uh, often so exaggerated. That means what happens is to reduce the arousal level, provide opportunity for them to do what they have perceived as necessary to return to calm. So if they have decided to go out for a walk or throwing a ball, then allow them that choice and let them control how they feel, right? So when you're dealing with the children, we have to be careful. We have to respond. Remember, we can't be reactive. So we need to connect. That's why I've kept here the word respond. We need to connect to them. That is right brain, emotional brain. Then we validate their feelings. Then we allow them choice and control. Do not engage in behavior cause and effect, right? If you do this, then you get this, because that's left brain response and you don't want to do that. Okay, they are not capable at that time. If your child is already mad or frustrated or angry, they are not going to agree to this, that do this, then I'm going to do that for you. No, this is cause and effect. This is not going to happen because it's left brain logical, and we are talking about right brain emotional. So you cannot engage in cause and effect of behavior. You have to understand, in order to create connection, you respond, validate, allow for choice and control. Okay, what I've learned is this, that ladies, like when we fall from someplace, right? Physical injuries. I have learned that if you have a broken heart and if you fall from the horse, it's the same thing. Emotional healing and physical healing are essentially the same. We can see physical injuries and we address them. Emotional injuries, we dismiss them. We dismiss as being in our head, which is why often takes us a long time to heal, as because we don't see within, we don't check within. Healing takes times, lady. It takes time. No matter how much we want to rush and expedite the process, no matter how much we want to, we will to make it faster, it doesn't happen like this, right? It takes time. Healing is a process. It takes time. The first 6 weeks after emotional injury, it takes time. Just like physical injury is important, so is the emotional injury. So if you have had a heartbreak, if you have had grief, if you are going through depression, if you have gone through trauma, these are all emotional stressors, right? You have gone through this emotional thing which is huge. So it will take time. Be patient. The process takes time. The healing process can be enhanced if you actively engaged in healing rather than let time do its thing, because like the physical injury, you need to stretch, you need to put ice, you need to do physiotherapy. Emotional injury, on the other hand, also takes time. Emotional injury needs journaling, needs therapy, needs support group, needs solitude. Healing is always better when done deliberately. So be gentle on yourself, don't be hard on yourself. Okay, own your mistakes and learn from them. It's easy to remain stuck in blaming the other, whether it's a horse trainer. If you are learning horse riding and you fell down, you can blame the trainer, or you can blame anyone else. But what did you learn from your life? So what did we learn from our mistakes? It's important to ask, what could I have done differently? If you don't learn from your experiences, then you will surely repeat them. Learning from our mistakes is the best way. Where there is great love, pain will be part of the experience. You can't fully experience, example, horse riding without falling. You can't deeply love another without hurting. Misunderstandings happen, heartbreaks happen, failures happen, things end, people die. You will engage with life open heartedly, or you will watch them, or you will watch life from the sidelines. Is it scary? Yes, ladies, it's definitely, it's absolutely scary. Is it worth looking back and saying, I lived and loved deeply? Yes, it is absolutely worth it. Okay, so have compassion for yourselves, because healing is a process. When you make mistakes, the inner child is loud. It is important to engage with the inner critique and tell it to be nice. The inner critique then becomes the inner guide. If you are harsh with yourself or others after a mistake, you cannot learn, because shame shuts off learning centers in the brain and you delay healing. Shame increases inflammation in the body. So be compassionate about the healing process. Strive for courage and not for fearlessness. And on that note, I'd like to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining me and listening to me. But as I end this session, I'd like to say that I felt this was very necessary, because if I told you to do the inner child work, which you cannot do alone, it was important to address this. So thank you, everyone, for being patient and listening to me. Thank you for attending. I'm done.
Thank you so much. Some deep work in there, but I'm glad you've given us some, something to follow on, something to work on as well. Some simple techniques there that we can practice. Obviously, everyone's got to find a technique that suits them. But thank you so much. I've just got a question. Somebody said, how do you stop yourself being hurt so many times? Because obviously with pain, it hurts. Anything to toughen us up or something?
Yes, yes, definitely. We can give a talk on pain.
We
Because
should,
whoever is asking us,
inshallah.
yes, it's because, we are addicted to pain. If I go in detail, it'll be too much, but just in short, we are addicted to pain. We'll always find reasons to suffer, but we always have a choice in life. So I don't know the person who is hurting or what, but depending on how we take life, how do we see life, right? It's very important to understand, when I talked about last time, attaching and detaching.
Mm,
So many a times when our children are disrespectful, we feel hurt. But you need to understand that you have to be the bigger person and step back when my child is rude with me. At that time, maybe I'm triggered and I feel hurt, but I be quiet. But after an hour or two, when the child comes and says sorry because I'm a practicing conscious parent, the child will automatically realize and come and says, Mom, I'm so sorry. I was so mean to you. I say, I am hurt. I don't never blame the child. So use I statements when you're hurt. So this question was that, how do I stop myself from hurting? You have to understand this is a temporary world, all right? And we are addicted to pain. So pain is in our hands. What is pain? Whatever you take sensitively hurts you. So that's your trigger. So that's the work you need to do. Why are you feeling so much pain? Is somebody betraying your trust? Are the children disobedient? What is that's triggering your pain? Is it your relationship with your spouse? If it is your relationship with a spouse where there is abuse, maybe God forbid in the marriage, there is physical or verbal abuse or something like that where you are getting hurt, then you always have to understand we have a choice in life. What is the choice? Either stay, either leave the marriage, or change the other person, or change yourself. These are the three things you can do. If you are in a marriage which is hurting you, either you leave the person, change the other person, which you know is not possible, and the third choice is change yourself. So you need to stop hurting by taking this information in your heart. Stop being sensitive because you are in charge of your emotions. You are in charge of how you feel. You are not your thoughts and you are not your emotions. So the person who is getting hurt needs to understand how does this work? Okay? Everything begins with a thought. All right? So I am sad, or let's say, okay, I am sad. Then that's a thought. I'm feeling, let's say, anxious. Then the feeling must be that when you are anxious, then your feeling would be like nervousness. Then it comes to an action. The action would be something like, if you are going for an exam and you are already anxious and nervous, you are not going to do well. Then it's going to be an event. So everything begins with a thought. So if you are thinking that I will be hurt, all right, then it will be your second, the thought actually connects to something which is feelings, and then the feelings will bring the actions, and the actions will bring the events, and then you go back to the feeling. So if you are feeling hurt, what hurt you? You need to learn from what hurt you, what has created hurt in your heart. You need to either unmesh yourself, detach, be the bigger person, and grow, do your inner child work. But as I said, not on your own. You need a coach, you need a therapist. If you have been hurt multiple times, then definitely time for introspection. What is hurting you? Why is it hurting you? Why are you so sensitive? Nothing can hurt you. You are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions. And you know what? The only thing you can do is change your thoughts pattern. So you need to say to yourself, I will not be hurt. But that doesn't mean it will change in one day. There is work to be done. That's why consciousness takes time. This work takes time. It takes time to heal yourself. Maybe there's an inner child wound that is triggering you because from your childhood wounds, something is triggering you in the present day and time, which is in your past. So healing has to be done. As I said, healing can be done through a therapist. You can go to a therapist and talk it out, and they can help you through the process of healing. The more you heal, the less you'll feel hurt. Because if there is a lot of hurt, definitely there's a lot of damage that has happened. So work needs to be done, trauma needs to be resolved, it has to be handled with a therapist so you feel better. Yeah, you can change your thought process. When you change your thought, you will change your feeling of being hurt, you will change the way you act in front of that person who is hurting you, and you will be different in the event when it's occurring. When that trigger is coming, you will act differently because you know you are in charge. You already are in charge, you have a different thought process, right?
Mm. Excellent. Somebody's got a question. You know how you said with your children, try not to go on the left side of the brain thing. What do you do? Because obviously a lot of boys nowadays, especially teenagers, younger ages, are getting hooked onto computer games, like mobile phone games. And obviously you don't want to be the harsh parent where you say, do this and then you'll get your mobile phone, or do this and you'll get your games. How do you kind of still have the compassion and get that connection when obviously your son's all he sees is obviously games, mobile phone games, as a reward, because obviously all his friends are on there. And I know sometimes I get that feedback from my son as well. But all moms are allowing their children, why are you being that kind of mom? And I tell him I care, and he says, but why do you have to care? And how do you kind of, without any, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is with conscious parenting is, it depends on how many yeses we say to the gaming thing, right? If your
Mm,
child is playing 3 times a week or twice a week or more just during weekends, depending on how you have
right.
handled the situation before. So now it's already a pattern.
Mm.
So if you have said yes many times and the child is allowed to play multiple times in a week, now to break that pattern is going to be hard because we were permissive parents or we were restrictive parents. We were too strict, right? To break the pattern is usually hard because it depends on how many times we said yes to the gaming, how many times we said no to the gaming, or we had clear rules. The rules have to be set out very clearly,
Mm.
right? And that's why I think, all these questions of gaming and everything, I have to, inshallah, in the future we can do a talk about natural
Definitely.
consequences, because we don't know what consequences are. We are very punitive. We either
Mm.
bribe the children, threaten the children, or we punish the children. We are very punitive as well. So all this does not work with consciousness, and hence we have to understand what are natural consequences, how we have to actually behave with our children, because we were not brought up with natural consequences. Our parents were overprotective. We
Mm.
don't even understand what natural consequences are. Once the child is addicted to game, or there is a system in place, it's going to be hard to break it, because we have created that pattern, and breaking a pattern is going to be hard depending on how old the child is as well, right?
Mm.
Maybe if the child is younger, then it's easier to come out from a pattern, but nothing is impossible. You can, if you are taking away the gaming, then you have to make sure you give something else. Make sure your child is playing football twice a week or something else, physical
Definitely.
activity. If you want to reduce gaming, then you need to put other activities in, because children need to have physical exertion. It's part of their need. So whether you are going to the park once a week, to the beach once a week, so you need to take the initiative of then taking them out. And with COVID, I don't know if that's possible, because I know UK is under lockdown for a long time. So,
Yeah, you're right. I think it's with COVID as well. Obviously, our natural way or our normal routine has been changed. Everything's kind of being questioned as well, isn't it? Because we were probably more based at home. So,
yes,
something else took place, and sometimes obviously you probably
even
didn't
then.
think, yeah,
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
yeah,
but it should not be a reason, because even when we are home, we can engage with the children. So we
definitely.
have multiple ways to do this. You can break a pattern whereby you create family nights. You
Mm.
can have Tuesday and Thursday. Thursday we have family meetings. Okay, everybody has a chance to speak their mind. Nobody will be judged. Nobody is punished. They can say whatever they want. Tuesday they can have a family night where you can make pizza and they can
Involve
have
them as
board
well in
games.
probably setting up that as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so engaging with the children, very important. If you are home and you can't take them out to the beach or the park, these are things that you have to go out. No matter, you don't need to do that. You create a solution at home. You can create a solution at home. Engage the children with you, especially
Definitely.
if they are young. It's doable. But
Yeah.
once they hit the teenage years, 15, 16, 17, that's already hard. You've already created a pattern. So breaking off from that would be a little bit harder, because the child is to agree with you. At 17, at 18, you can't break a pattern. It's already solid now, the pattern, because if you have behaved for 3 4 years in such a manner of permissive parenting, or you have been laid back because oh, he's playing, I can do my thing, example, so then that would be harder. But there's always a way to break a pattern. You can sit down, do the talk, explain the difference, or effects of whether it is social media, gaming, whatever it is. Scientifically show them how much brain damage is going to happen to you. And I know it is hard, because children will not agree. Definitely their friends are online, but it's something, if they are younger, it's doable. 17 and above, I don't think you
Inshallah.
can then break a pattern. It's too
No.
late.
Thank you.
Catch them early.
Thank you. I think somebody's got a question. Did somebody want to ask a question? You can unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Can you hear me, sisters? Assalamu alaikum to everybody. I just wanted to use this opportunity to ask you a question, sister. So I just thought I'd just raise awareness. Plus, it was important for my question. So, last year, I got diagnosed with breast cancer, and Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, it was caught early, and I see it as a gift, and I see it as a blessing from Allah. And I just wanted to raise awareness for all the sisters out there. Please do check. Please do check. During COVID, it's been very difficult. But my question was regarding this. When I got my diagnosis, um, I I didn't cry. I did my and I went and I got my results. And when I got told that I got cancer, I just said Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, because it was caught early. And then in a space of 6 weeks, I had two surgeries and I had radiotherapy. But my question is more towards my son. I came home and I broke the news to my family. Obviously, they were all devastated. And then I spoke to my son and I didn't cry. And he was saying, Mum, why aren't you crying? Mum, why are you crying? Why is Allah doing this to you? And why aren't you crying? Because you cry for everyone. And I'm quite a sensitive person. I'm quite compassionate. And I work around mental health. And he said to me, Mum, why are you crying? And the question is for me, 5 months down the line, when I did finally cry after my radiotherapy, he then said to me, Mum, why are you crying now?
Mm.
Why are you crying now? Why didn't you cry before? And look
Okay.
how much pain Allah's putting you through, and you're always smiling and laughing. And
Okay.
I suppose, in a way, um, because I see it as a blessing and a gift from Allah, I took it that Allah's the best of planners and He's looking after me. So
Subhanallah.
that's
Yes.
how I took it. But now that I'm ready to talk, or I'm talking and telling people what I've gone through,
Okay.
they say to me it's trauma and that I need to cry or I need to see it as trauma. But my thing is not on me. My thing is on my son.
Okay.
I, by him now saying, where obviously I'm still got ongoing treatment. I'm in a lot of pain. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Allah's the healer, and He will give me shifa, inshallah. But
Ameen.
what I wanted to say was that, in terms for my son seeing me cry and saying, why is Allah putting me through all this pain, and why are you crying now? Will that affect him in the long run? Is there something going on that, you were
Yes.
talking about trauma, for not for
Yeah.
me, because obviously, alhamdulillah, I'm smiling, I'm doing what I'm
Yeah.
normally doing, but then I am crying because I believe in emotional intelligence. I
Yes.
talk to my son about emotions.
Yes.
I really say, as mothers out there, sisters out there, please talk to the boys, let them
Yes.
be emotional, let them
Yes.
be emotional.
Yes,
Thank you.
excellent, excellent. Is your can I have your okay, I don't want to know your name, just that sister, I am so happy that things worked out for you. You are so highly aware and you are emotionally intelligent. So at that time you didn't feel like crying. Maybe you were, as you said, you were not shocked. You were trusting Allah. So that was amazing. So you have gone through phases, right? Like grieving process. How we have processes when we go through a grief, right? Through grief we have process, we have denial, we have anger, and then we have acceptance, then we are emotional. So sometimes we get shocked, and if it was not shock and you had reliance on Allah, which you are saying you did, that is amazing. Subhanallah, your trust on Allah. Allah, you are the healer, you will heal me. But definitely your son is a different thing. He is feeling trauma, but and he is questioning, why are you suffering, why did this happen to you? All right. But pain is a portal of consciousness. As a conscious parenting coach, I always explain everyone, pain is not bad. Pain is here for you to wake up from your slumber of ignorance or unconsciousness. We think pain is bad.
Hussein,
No.
you have not finished your food journey. I want it all finished. I'm coming down to check on you.
All right. I think
Sorry,
someone
go.
with Musarat, if you can just.
Yeah, mute
So,
them.
pain is a portal of consciousness, my dear sister. So, you have gone through that pain, and now is the time where you are feeling emotional and you are releasing those emotions, which is amazing. And you understand that how important it is to cry. So, Subhanallah, I'm so happy for you. You have been through this journey and you're understanding it. And may Allah heal you totally. Inshallah, we'll all pray for you. You are creating awareness. That's a second step, that you are not only emotionally aware of what's happening to you and emotionally intelligent and addressing it with your son. Secondly, you are creating awareness. Thirdly, you are telling your son to feel his feelings. So the way I said, pain is a portal of consciousness. We have to understand these are trial and tribulations that God has given us to test us, how patient we are, how grateful we are, how much do we trust Allah. So you need to explain him this thing, that Allah is testing my patience, but I trust him totally and fully. And I know whatever he does for a good reason. Anything that happens to me, even if it is painful, it is here for me to grow. That's why we talked about the window of tolerance today, because every painful experience is here for us to introspect and grow our window of tolerance and grow from these experiences which are painful. But this pain is important because you are evolving into a beautiful butterfly. a spiritually beautiful butterfly. Just the way the caterpillar is in the cocoon, he struggles and then he comes out and he flies. So this pain is a portal where you will evolve spiritually, mentally, and at the same time emotionally, and you will understand that pain is good for me, because pain is here to awaken me and explain to me that it's a portal of consciousness. There is something that needed to wake up in me. Now it has. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go up, see
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a 5-year-old daughter, and she's very calm. But at times, she tests my patience. She comes to a limit that she tries and sees. Um, she wants things to be done according to what she wants. But every time we can't get that done. So we keep a condition. You need to get things done in order to get what you need. And what you just said, that you do not have to keep condition that if you do this, you will get that, or if you do that, you get your phone time or your screen time. So what is other alternative? Like how can we, if we can't, if we're not, it's not the right way to bribe them, what else can we do? Because they know exactly what nerve to pull. Exactly, literally.
I
And,
like it the way you put it. It's actually a trigger for you because she's pushing you around and she's telling you, I'm the boss.
exactly. So at times she just comes to a point that no, I don't want this. I want this way. So it can't always be done according to what she wants it.
Yes, I understand.
Because
So you
so,
need
is there
to
any other alternative that we could approach, or
yes,
if we
definitely.
talk
I
to
will
her
suggest.
politely, if
I will
we
suggest
just calm her down, she
yes.
understands. But
Yeah.
if she's with her other cousins and you try and speak to her, she's like, no, no, not now, not now. So it's
Yes.
always later. So why not at that particular time? Why when she's alone, it's she's another person, and if she's with others, she's a different person.
Oh, okay. Okay. So when you were talking about, her being very demanding and telling you, no, no, I want this, and she's not listening, it's actually a good thing that, she is so persistent, but you have to understand how to validate her. You have to understand she can feel the vibes when you are getting stressed or you are feeling hyper inside. And though verbally you are validating and telling her, no, my dear, not now, let's do this, and then we do that, and she can feel it inside, because conscious parenting is all about your inner terrain. So if she feels the anxiety, she's pushing those buttons more. So I will, this is a whole talk, it's hard to explain in a small manner, but I would suggest you to read the book of Laura Markham. I will send the book to Musarat.
Yeah.
I don't know your name, sister, so please, Musarat, just make sure whoever is asked the question, you have to read the book of Dr. Laura Markham, whereby you will understand how to handle her strong personality. Because validation, even we don't know how to do it properly. When the child is, annoying us or anything, you have to hold on to that status. And when she is being mad and she's persistent, you have to hold your ground as well. And you also have to do it very calmly. As a
So
conscious
is it okay if we get upset or just end up screaming? Is it okay?
no,
No.
unfortunately not. Because when you scream, things will not be done. You are scaring her. It's bad for her psyche. It's bad, right? You need to scream, you need to go out for a walk, go do something, right? Take the pause. If you heard the first talk in which I talk about how to try to first emotionally regulate yourself, that's very important. So this is
So
the first
if
talk.
in case she comes to a limit that um, you just want to shout out or something, is there any
No, no,
alternative? Can I
that
just
is not
walk
an option.
away,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
just
yeah,
stay quiet and walk
yeah,
away? Is that
yeah,
appropriate?
yeah. But you tell
Once,
her, how old is your
okay,
daughter? How old is she?
she's 5.
Okay, so you need to inform her that you are triggered now. So you need to tell her, sweetheart, I am not okay. I am mad right now and I need my space. So you inform her what you are doing. Just don't walk away without any communication, because she will not understand what you're doing. She will follow you where you are going. So explain to her and tell her, sweetheart, I'm not okay. I need a timeout. I want a break from this situation. Let me calm down. I'll come back. Because even when I'm angry with my kids, I just tell them, time out. Guys, please, I'm not sane. Nothing nice is going to come out of me right now. And I don't want to hurt nobody. My kids are bigger, I could say that. But for her, you tell her, I need to calm down, I need some space. Can you please leave mommy for 10 minutes? Then you go for your walk, inform her that you are doing that, so she does not feel abandoned. She doesn't feel that you left her hanging there, she's crying or she's having an emotion. Because children usually, when they're having a tantrum, you can't leave them alone, because you are their surrogate mother, like surrogate. Emotionally, you are trying to bring them to homeostasis. For that, you have to be present when she's having a tantrum. So if she's triggered and you are triggered, you can't walk away when she's having a tantrum. You actually have to calm yourself down in that moment by either drinking water or by saying, absorb, don't absorb. Absorb, don't absorb energy. Keep yourself away from that. Do something about it, So if she's having a tantrum, you definitely can't walk away. And if you're angry and she's triggered you, then you need to call her, tell her that, I need to walk away right now until I feel better. I'll come back and we'll deal with this situation. Where you are in your homeostasis, you are ready and you can talk to her nicely.
Okay. And if there's once a time that I literally hit her.
Okay.
And she has kept that in her head that, and I told her that I promised her that it won't happen again. I will not do it again. But at times she keeps reminding me, remember you did that? So is there any way that
Yeah.
I could just erase that from her?
Yes, so you see, it's a traumatic experience. So she remembers, she loves you so much, she's connected to you so much. You are such an amazing mom. You are working so hard, but we are human beings. We can be triggered, and we have all done it. Let's not all be saints. We are not. So yes, I know she remembers that, but it will take time, right? Now you never have to hit her again, ever, because you don't want to restore that misbelief. Yeah, this is a
Yeah,
situation
I
that you are.
promised her.
Yes. So now there is no way you can ever raise your hand because you have to keep your promise on. Two, over time she will forget. You have apologized. Yeah, it happens. You can't do anything about it. But if it still goes on and she remembers how, if she's 5, and then later on, if you think, you can do some therapy work with her. You can go to RTT specialist, which is rapid transformational therapy. You can do a hypnosis for her where she can forget this limiting belief of being hit, but not now. She's just 5. See if she has this memory in the long term, then maybe you can work further by taking her to a RTT therapy.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sukaina. Has anybody got one last question? And I think then we can end today's session. I put my number on there if anybody wants the audio recording or the slides as well. But we will arrange more sessions with Sister Sukaina as well, inshallah. So if somebody,
Musarat, sorry
yeah,
to cut you, but people are asking for the name of the book.
yeah,
I'll send you the book. Can you please send it on
yes,
the group, please?
yeah. Definitely, yes, inshallah. Okay. Anybody wants to ask one last question? I think somebody called SB. Is it that you wanted to ask a question?
Assalamu alaikum. It wasn't a question, it was just a reflection from the last sister's question. So, Jazakallah for being honest about your journey in motherhood. I sometimes feel like I could scream. And when I felt like that, I think it's important to think what led you up to that point. Because in our day-to-day life, we wouldn't scream in the supermarket, even if we want to. So I think what helps me is that bucket model. So when I'm really full with a lot of stresses, your child just triggers it off. And yesterday was an example for me, and I was really upset because I shouted at my young daughter, and it was just one thing, and it was because I put too much pressure on myself doing sort of work at home and other work. And I thought my role is to be a mother, so if there's things that are causing too much pressure in your life that you can change, try and let those go, just because your daughter is the main person and you are her role model. But try not to make life too difficult for yourself. That's the only thing I wanted to add.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Sorry, Musarat, I just like to tell the name because everyone is asking in the chat. It's called Peaceful Parent, Happy Kids. How to Stop Yelling and Start Connecting. Okay, the lady who is having problems with her daughter. It's by Dr. Laura Markham. It's an amazing book, ladies. You can get this book and learn the skills because she also has a workbook as well. All right, so all of you who are having toddlers and tantrums and strong-willed children, just look at this beautiful book called Peaceful Parent, Happy Kids. How to Stop Yelling and Start Connecting by Dr. Laura Markham, right? So you will understand actually how to validate your children, because validation is key, and many times we don't know how to validate. We don't know how to communicate, and we think we do, but we don't know the tactics of the eye contact, sitting down there and making sure that you walk the talk, meaning you stay with the child even if the child is agitated. Laura teaches that you stay with the child and bring the child to calm down. In the meantime, you also have to be calm. So the only thing you can do which will actually help you at that time is breathing. I talked about breath work today. Just take deep breaths yourself when you are triggered. Your child is going through heavy emotions. You are getting angry. Make sure you take those deep breaths, exhale from your mouth, inhale from your nose. Inshallah, you will be regulated and you can contain the situation there and then, inshallah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think Sister Farah has got a question. Sister Farah, we'll take your last question.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I just want to ask, I have a relative's daughter who comes round and she's 7, and every single time when she leaves, even though she has a younger brother who is absolutely fine when it comes to going home, the girl who's 7 just screams at the top of her voice and says, I don't want to go. And that happens with everywhere they go. I was just wondering what's the best way to deal with that.
Okay, so I'm just a little confused. The girl who comes home does not want to leave?
Yes, that's right. So she comes with her parents and her brother.
Okay.
And she does, when it comes to going home, even though she's had loads of fun, it's like she goes into this absolute tantrum. But it's not a tantrum, it's just very loud, screamy, crying thing. I don't want to go, I don't want to go. And it's really hard for everybody to deal with. Parents are struggling as well. And it doesn't just happen when she comes here, it happens everywhere she goes. So I'm just wondering if you could give some pointers, please.
Okay. I just feel that, she's having a lovely time with your daughter. So she doesn't want it to end. Maybe in her home, it's different. And we can't judge, what's happening in her house. She likes to have fun, maybe. And that's the reason, now she's feeling isolated, or she's feeling, oh my God, feeling of abandonment, because leaving a situation where she feels happy and safe and a lot of, happy memories. It's hard for her to, so the parents have to really sit with her and explain to her before even she comes that she has to leave at a certain point. They have to tell her beforehand that, this is the time you're going and this is the time you're coming back. There is no emotional regulation happening here. Maybe she's too young, 5 or 6, I don't know. So the parents have to really, really, really instill this in her from like before even she leaves the house, that this is normal, coming and going is part of life. Not shouting at her, screaming at her, and then removing her from a situation where she's shouting and yelling will not help. So at there and then, when she's doing that, they have to bring her, to a calm place. They have to stay there until she is calm and ready and willing to leave. But if they are pulling her away in a state where she's crying, screaming, kicking, and you are pulling her away in that state, that will happen repeatedly, because now it will become a pattern. You say it wherever she goes. You didn't say
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
pattern.
sure. So sorry to cut you, but basically they wait and it just doesn't end. That's the thing. And she's very willful. She is one of the most willful children that I've seen.
Okay.
And I work with kids. So, and her parents don't know what to do.
Okay, I think this book will really help. Okay, Peaceful
Okay.
Parent, Happy Kids. It's really helpful. It has multiple things that can help the parent, first self-regulate, teach how to, validate the children properly, because sometimes we think we know. And then we think, oh my God, now this is getting out of hand, but we don't know. We have to really wait and learn the skills to bring the child back down to a calm level. Then we can move away from there. So, and if this repeated
Perfect.
experience, it has to be
Yeah.
handled in a different manner for sure. There is something that is there that the child is feeling disturbed about, either moving away from that safety zone or happiness and feeling lonely at home. Something is definitely the behavior, definitely.
Thank you. I think we've
Sure.
got one more.
Thank you for that. Thanks.
Thank
I'll
you.
get the book.
Okay.
I think we've just got one more question the ladies requested. So yes, Sister Nilam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Salam.
I just because we are on Easter break and there's lots of things going on. So basically, I put my son for a football camp this week, and he's been coming home really upset.
Okay.
And I kind of felt that this is what he wanted to do. He wanted to play football, but is in his room right now, and I'm listening to your lecture and I'm thinking, what should I do? What should I do? Because I really, he wanted to do the football camp, and for 2 days it's been for the camp, and he's coming home really upset. He's going to start throwing a tantrum if I ask him what's wrong. So I don't know how should I approach. Like, I was listening half because I've got the twins here, but I'm thinking, what is the best thing to do? Because I put him on a football camp because he wanted to do that. So, and he's isolated in his room right now, and he's only 7. So
Okay. So I hear you, sister, and I understand. Okay, how old are the twins? I'm sorry, I just need to know because I need
the
to.
twins are only a 1-year-old.
Okay, so there's a good age gap there, alhamdulillah. So you know what? There is something definitely underneath the behavior. There is something going on which he cannot tell you right now, and he's showing it as anger. But there is something happening either at the football field, or he is not feeling validated at home because you already have twins. So maybe, when we have multiple needs, it's not, nobody does this intentionally, but the children need to be seen, heard, loved. They need to see if they matter. And your hands are already full with 2 babies, and already this is a situation where he was alone for 6 years, so he had one-on-one with you. Maybe he's feeling hard time now to get along with this new situation whereby there are 2 babies, your attention is divided with the 2, and he is now become the 3rd one instead of the first one, which he was for at least 6 years of his life. So there is an emotional need that has not been met. So either he feels abandonment, or there is fear of, or he feels rejected, right? So you know what, don't look at the anger, go underneath the anger. So when he calms down, when he is in a good mood, ask him when he is in a good mood. Maybe there is something else. Maybe at the football field something happened. Maybe, God forbid, if somebody bullied him or he got hurt and he doesn't want to share it, but he's showing it as anger. So we don't know what is the emotion until we go underneath the emotion. It shows as anger, but there is something underneath the anger. Either fear of abandonment, or he feels rejected because the twins are there, your attention is divided, or something on the outside is bothering him which he cannot articulate. He doesn't have the words or emotional skills to explain himself, because emotional intelligence is taught to the children by the parents. So you have to give him the words in order to explain himself, which he is struggling currently. But inshallah, go underneath the behavior. When he's calm, ask him.
I think we'll
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Just a quick one on this. Sukaina, how do you get teenage boys to open up and talk? Yeah. Is there a tech? Girls are usually bubbly. They kind of share everything happens in school. They just want to take it out. But obviously, teenage boys, they go through that phase, right, where sometimes they start keeping that boundaries, or they just don't want you to get too cuddly with them, or ask them too many questions. How do you kind of keep that space but also still keep in touch with teenage boys?
Yes, so the safe is sacred. You have to understand we cannot be over anxious, and we don't have to, be controlling and find out everything about them. But maintaining the relationship is key, right? How you talk with your child with respect, make sure you're giving them respect. And if they are hugging you and they're avoiding themselves, actually they are doing a sort of hijab, okay? So even when I hug my son, he's 17, and he'll come for a hug, but we are careful, because definitely we are being careful of not having that physical touch, maintaining our hijab, hugging. He will sometimes sleep on my lap, right? So make sure you have that physical touch. You say I love yous, you do your hugs. Don't pry too much. Trust them, or tell them how you feel, because that's very important, right? If I'm concerned, I would tell my son. I educated him maybe when he was 13. If he wants to know something which is maybe about sex or something, fine. This is how it is. According to the age, you are going to have the conversations. You guys are living in the UK. You have to have all these conversations, maybe even before 13. So they know these things beforehand, and we have to sit and have those hard conversations, and we have to tell them how we feel. So if you feel he's not telling you everything, sometimes it's good not to know. And if you really want to know, then you tell them, I'm afraid, or I feel anxious because I think I'm missing out on this thing. Can you explain further? I trust you and I love you. Yeah, make sure you give respect, you give trust, make sure they are in solitude, like with you alone privately, so you can have this conversation. Because with boys, usually respect is very, very important. So never talk about anything you serious in front of other people. Make sure you are alone in the room, talking to them one on one, explaining how you feel. You feel you need to know more, so you need to explain them that this is how I feel, I need to know more, can you tell me more? I trust you, but as a parent I'm worried. So if the relationship is there, then inshallah the child will open up and they will tell you. And if sometimes they're hiding, then we cannot always know what's happening, because children will hide.
There for them, isn't it? And they know that you're there for them when they want to have a talk as well. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I do. With my son, I will always tell him, I am there for you. But you don't understand me. So I will go through that phase of whereby he will tell me, you don't understand me. You cannot relate to me. I'm a millennial and you are an oldie. Okay, fine. Okay. All right. But I am there. So Laura Markham actually teaches these things as well in the book, that, you know what, don't leave your children alone. Here she asked me and she told me that her son is alone in the room and he's angry. So she can right now go, but the problem is that she has twins. So when she goes, she has her kids as well. So when she's giving the attention to the older one, she has to make sure she's not distracted with the other two, because validation is very important, where you make eye contact, physical touch, you hold your child's hand and you tell them, I'm here for you. What is wrong with you? I'm looking at you. You are very sad. And that makes me sad as well. Is there something I can do for you? Do you need a hug? Do you need something? Do you want me to help you? How do you want me to help you? First you ask, do you need help? Do you need a hug? How can I help you? That's important, because sometimes we think we know the solution, that a hug will help. Maybe the person who is angry doesn't want a hug right now. Their love language is not physical touch. Maybe it is affirmation, right? And you cannot say that you have no right to get angry. Oh, this was a small talk, because, why are you so angry? Maybe the child shares, trusts you and shares, and then you dismiss their emotion by saying to them, oh, this was something very small. Now dismissing is wrong. So validating, it might be small in your eyes, but for your child this is an overwhelming feeling. So we have to be very careful. And how we deal with the children, they are sensitive. We have to acknowledge and validate and accept that they are feeling overwhelmed, they are feeling anxious, they are feeling angry. Fine, give them a safe space and say, I'm here, I'm listening, I love you. If you need anything, I'm here. So make sure you validate, you tell them you are here for them. If they are willing to share, okay. But if they are not willing to share, then you back off, because there is a reason they are not sharing.
I think validating is really important, because I've got 17-year-old and a 5-year-old as well. And then I've got a son in the middle. Even though the 17-year-old sometimes thinks, Mom, you're giving the 5-year-old too much time and you care more about her. And I'm like, no, I care more about you. You've been there years before. But I think it's validation, saying
Yes.
that in words, isn't it? It's not always actions, it's saying in words.
Exactly. There's a whole talk. Like, if I could do, somebody wrote to me, please, can you help with sibling rivalry? There's a whole talk. I cannot answer sibling rivalry in one answer,
Yeah,
because
we'll look
I
into that,
cannot do
inshallah.
justice to this,
Yeah.
topic, because it's a whole topic that has to be covered, and we make multiple mistakes. We don't know how to validate. We take sides when we are doing sibling rivalry. You are right and you are wrong. Khalas, you have already ruined it. Why? Because the person whom you called wrong doesn't feel validated, seen, or heard. See, now what we have done is we have taken sides, right and wrong. So now you are preferring this child over this child. That's what the child is feeling. You see,
That's what they see.
sibling rivalry is a different ball game. All in all, it has to be learned in a proper way, because you and I might think, oh, I know right and wrong. But again, we have to remember, children need to be seen, heard. They need to feel they matter. So the person whom you called wrong just felt, I'm nothing. So
That's
you would
true. Yeah.
Yeah, so
No,
it's
inshallah, we'll do another session on that, because obviously I think a lot of us do have obviously siblings, and you don't realize it gets harder and harder. Even if you've got 10, 20 years difference with them, as they get older, they still need that. So thank you, everyone. Wonderful session, Sukaina. I think it went out of your topic that you were talking, but it really helped. Thank you so much. I think we will keep, inshallah, session on pain as well. As you said, it's part of life as well. And inshallah, we can look at sibling rivalry, teenagers as well, because it might be a different way of handling teenagers as well. So thank you, everyone, for joining in. Please message me in, and I can add you to the group as well and send you the recording. And Sister Sukaina, inshallah, will send us the slides as well. So thank you, everyone. I wish we could continue with this session, but it needs to end. And obviously, we've all got some work to do on and some things to practice and work on. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Sukaina, for a lovely, wonderful session. Please keep us in your prayers, and we'll see you, inshallah, on Sunday when we've got another session at 5 o'clock UK time on Mind, Body, and Soul by Sister Shaista Bimji. So thank you, everyone. Jazakallah. Khuda Hafiz, everyone. Khuda Hafiz.